First of all, a lot of things happened for you last season. You took your second head coaching job here with the Cougars, guided them to the Round Rock Classic title over number 24 Kentucky and Kansas. You improved the defense to the third best fielding percentage in program history and turned the second most double plays in Pac-12 history. And now for a new first, you take Washington State to its first year of Mountain West baseball. What does it mean for you to coach the Cougars in its first season in the Mountain West?
Yeah, it's an honor. I'm a West Coast guy, so I'm pretty familiar with the Mountain West. I know how good at baseball it is. Obviously Fresno State winning a national championship in 2008, and programs like San Diego State, and UNLV, and New Mexico. San Jose State's been really good. Air Force. There's a guy in the big leagues that started his career at Air Force that's had a pretty good career, and Paul Skeens. And so I know it's really, really good baseball. And so really honored to be the head coach at Washington State, and thankful for the opportunity to have a conference because as of April last year, we didn't have a conference for baseball. So really excited to get going and grateful.
How have you seen your career develop since you've started coaching the Cougars?
Yeah, well, there's been a lot of different changes since I've taken over. Obviously, we started in the pack. Anytime you take over a program, I think people would love for it to be like a light switch where you just flip it overnight, and it doesn't necessarily happen that way. And so, I'm trying to assemble a coaching staff that fits for Pullman and Pullman's community. It's really unique. It's really supportive of Washington State. And so, getting a coaching staff and then the players in place that really kind of represent the university in a really, really good way, kind of a blue collar, tough mindset. And so just trying to get some of those guys in the program has been good.
So you're in year two with the Cougars, but you're also in your third conference in 3 seasons. You had a year in the Pac-12 with Washington State, and then previously in the Western Coastal Conference with LMU, where you coached 4 seasons. How much adapting have you had to do since you started as a coach here?
Yeah, on the West Coast, you kind of play everybody anyway. You play a lot of Tuesday games, so you're pretty familiar with other opponents. There's a little bit of a different brand in each conference. I think the WCC was probably a little bit more pitching and defense heavy. The Pac-12 specifically on Fridays was always really, really tough because of the pitching. The Mountain West, because of the elevation in some of the stadiums that you play in, it's a little bit more offensive. And so I think just the style of play will be a little bit different. I'm a pitching and defense guy. So it'll be a little bit different because some of these ballparks at different points of the year are just so offensive. But pretty familiar with all the programs in the conference.
So yeah, you have a pretty extensive pitching background. You pitched at Cal Poly and served as the pitching coach at Grand Canyon, San Diego, LMU before you became head coach there. You've even coached World Series champion Joe Kelly um, back at UC Riverside. So when you were with LMU, you had those six pitcher of the week honors. You ranked sixth nationally in walks per 9 innings, 26th nationally in the walk per strikeout ratio. As a head coach here for the Cougars, obviously pitching is an important part of this game. But for you specifically, why is pitching an important part of your coaching strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I've never been a part of a program or seen a program go really far in the postseason that doesn't have good pitching, right? And so I will tell you this, I'm a better head coach and better pitching coach in the years that we have good pitchers. And, when you get to the postseason specifically, it is about pitching and defense. And so, really kind of hung my hat on that over the years of trying to get guys to attack the strike zone. I think in the Mountain West, yeah, you're probably going to give up some home runs because it's a little bit more offensive. But instead of it being a 2-run, 3-run home run where you walk a guy, hit a guy, you can give up 2 or 3 solo home runs and it's only 3 runs versus maybe 6 or 7. And so I really think the key is throwing a lot of strikes and being able to change speeds and pitch down in the strike zone. But yeah, that's an area that I feel like if you're going to compete, to win a conference and play in the postseason, you really have to pitch and then play defense. I really think those two things go hand in hand. It's one thing to just pitch, but if you don't play defense, it really doesn't matter. So you'll hear me kind of refer to it as pitching and defense because they go hand in hand.
Who do you feel is your toughest competition in the conference this season?
Well, I think Fresno State is going to be good. I think they're still pretty old. I've heard from some people that Reno has a really good returning club. New Mexico is a little bit older. College baseball is a sport where when you're a little bit older on the roster, you have a little bit of an advantage. And so, I know Air Force does a great job, but I think they lost a lot last year. I think San Jose State, who's done a great job the last couple of years, lost a lot. I think UNLV will be good. But I would say probably Fresno State and Reno. I saw in the coaches poll they were kind of picked 1, 2. We were picked third, and so as we become more familiar in conference, we get a better feel as we go. But I do know we played Fresno State last year, non-conference, and I thought they had a pretty good club.
Yeah, they had an average ERA of 5.63, which was the lowest in the conference last season. They only had 183 walks. As a defensive pitching-minded coach, how do you think your team's pitching stacks up against the Diamond Dogs?
Yeah, I think we'll be really good. I know Troy Buckley, their pitching coach, has done a great job for a number of years. We have a lot of junior college guys that had success at the junior college level that are now going to be in the Division I environment. And I think the biggest difference between junior college and Division I is just you can't make as many mistakes. So I think it'll really come down to that. We have a lot of belief in the guys that we brought in. That's why we brought them in. Now it's about just going out and executing. But I really do feel when we play good baseball, we can beat anybody in the country. And that's not about really disrespecting anybody else. It's more about respecting ourselves. And so good baseball, will win a lot of games.
So most importantly, what are your expectations for the team this season?
Yeah. Yeah, well, kind of it's going to sound cliche and this is what you're going to get out of me, but really we have opening weekend this weekend and we're going to Arkansas. And I want to see us stay in character. I want to see us play like we've been training in practice. I want to see us stay in character. And if we do that, we're going to be in every game. And then every game's decided on 2 or 3 pitches. You know that going into the game. You just don't know which pitches they are until the game's over. But really don't want to look too far ahead of that. I'm looking forward to taking our team down to Arkansas, playing in a great environment against a great team. And really, we just take it a week at a time. I know, like I said, it sounds cliche, but that really is how we do it.
Yeah. All right, so I want to end with a couple of lighthearted questions here. We call this the rounding the bases part of this interview. I'm just
Okay.
going to ask you 4 real easy questions that kind of just cap things off here. So first of all, after a win, where is your favorite place to eat?
Probably my house. Yeah, I go home. I'm pretty low key. I think my wife's a good cook, so I go home and eat at home. Yeah.
Yeah, so I know you played a little bit of college ball back in the day too. If you could have played professionally on any team, what team would it be?
Yeah, I grew up a Cubs fan, so I definitely would have said the Chicago Cubs.
Is there a reason why other than just you're a Cubs fan, or is there a legacy
Yeah.
behind that?
Well, actually, so I was born in Florida, and at the time, years and years and years ago, my grandparents were from Illinois. And back in those days, there was no Marlins and Rays, and the only real games on TV were WGN with the Cubs and TBS with the Braves. And so my grandfather was from Illinois, and so the TV was turned on to WGN and not TBS. So he was a pretty big Cubs fan, so I had no choice. I grew up a lovable loser, as we were called back then.
What's the best road field to play? Well, 2 different questions. What's the best road field that you've played on? And then which one in the Mountain West Conference do you think will be the best one to play on?
Okay, probably the best road field in college. I thought Oklahoma State was a great stadium. They have a great setup. I think that's just first class, and so I would say that. And then as far as Mountain West, I've been to everywhere in the Mountain West. The only place I have never been is Air Force, and I heard it's pretty offensive, and we're opening up conference at Air Force, so can't really make a judgment on that, but I'd say probably San Diego State because I'm a Southern California guy.
Okay. And finally, heading for home, what's the best part of being in Pullman?
Great place to raise a family and the support the university gives our baseball program. Baseball matters a lot here. I have 4 young kids, and this is a great place to raise a family.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach, so much for coming on the interview here. You're the first one that we've ever done for this. So,
Oh,
here's to many more. I hope to see you again. I have I have Logan and Griffin on at 12.
okay.
If you could have a question that you want me to ask them, what do you think I should ask both of those guys?
Yeah, so Logan is a really good offensive player and has really good bat to ball skills. So maybe asking him something of what makes him such a good hitter would be a good question. And I think maybe asking Griffin, what does he think his biggest strength as a pitcher is? or the transition from junior college to high level Division I? Like, what's been the biggest thing that he's noticed between junior college and the Division I level so far? I think that either of those questions would be great questions.
Okay. All right, Coach. Thank you so much.
So, Adam, wait, you're telling me that if there's not a second episode of this, that means we bombed so poorly that they just said, "Hey, we're not doing baseball anymore." I'm glad you told me after, because there's some serious pressure. I don't want to screw this up for all the Mountain West coaches.
No, this is great. It's pretty low key. I just wanted to add some video content to our blog. So we're gonna have a weekly rankings post, and then we're also gonna have a hitter, pitcher of the week, player of the week, and then our second post of the week will be the best matchup going into the weekend. And it really just elevates the content to have that video there, to have that presence of, speaking to the coaches and athletes, getting their views on it instead of just, us just putting stuff out there for you to read. So
Yeah, love it. I love it. Appreciate the support for not only conference but college baseball. It's awesome, man. So anything we can do to help, let us know.
thanks, Nathan.